Pam, and this is my channel, Made by Pam. So I haven't been on in a very long time. And I'm just sitting here stitching up this pair of pants for my son. Because, he's hard on his clothes. So I'm just stitching it up and thinking, you know what? I'm just going to come on and stitch on line. It's been forever. I have a cold, so I don't sound so good. I have a stuffy nose, cold. But it's a Friday night. Well, let's get our stitch on. So all I'm doing is I'm just taking, and I've actually taken a piece of fabric and I am stitching it into the hole because part of the fabric came missing. Hi, Pam. I know it's been forever. I'm just sewing up, like hand stitching, patching up my son's pants. And, I could make him a new pair as easy as that. The problem is, I would have to get the fabric. I know exactly where it is. That's not the issue of finding it. It's a issue of getting to it because I have a lot of fabric and it's like back in a corner against the wall with all of my other fabric cord stacked on top of it and in front of it because I'm one of those people that just doesn't know when to stop and not to get stuff. I've been really good. I did buy fabric on Wednesday because I did go to the thrift store. I had to take my daughter to the emergency room Wednesday morning. She woke up with a really, really bad earache. So she went in and they told her that she had an ear infection and and said that her eardrum was probably going to burst, which is lovely. So we did that, and then we went to CVS and filled up her prescription from the ER. And then after that, it was close to 9 o'clock. And I'm like, hey, since we're up this way, you want to go to Savers? She's like, yes, Mom. I always want to go to Savers. So we went to Savers. And I found a couple items, but I found some fabrics. My daughter found a good piece of fabric. She found a fabric that had banana, like a t-shirt knit that had bananas all over it. And she wanted that. It has like 4 yards of fabric and it was like $5. So it wasn't too bad. She's like, I really like this fabric, Mom. It looks so cool. It's got bananas all over it. She's like, but I don't know what you do with it. I'm like, it's a t-shirt fabric. It's a lightweight t-shirt fabric. Make a t-shirt. There's enough here to make one for her and one for her daughter and everything. So, yeah, I'm hoping I can be heard. I don't know if I can or not. Can you hear me? I guess if I put my phone to the stream So listen if you can actually hear me. Okay, you can hear me. Oh, good. Thanks for that. Hi, William. How are you? Oh, good. I'm glad you can hear me clearly because I am fighting a cold and it is kicking my butt. But all right. But I was just sitting here stitching this up, you know, and I was like, you know what? I got nothing better to do. So I figured I would come on live because I haven't been on for, as you all can attest, because life. I've had a lot of crap going on in my life and just things with kids. So, a little backstory. A couple weeks ago, um, it was on a Wednesday night. So, my son had gone to school on the Monday, and then Monday night, he didn't feel good. And I thought, because I had made banana bread and I had used 3 eggs. And of course, I'm baking it, so it shouldn't affect anything.
Mama,
What?
will you tell Brandon to clean up Tommy's mess?
Did Tommy make a mess?
Yeah, he threw up like 10 times across the floor.
Ew, gross.
And I told Brandon to clean it up an hour ago, but she walked right by it and did nothing.
Say, Brianna, if you don't clean up your mess, your daughter's gonna get into it and make herself sick.
No, I mean, my main concern is Logan's socks are gonna get ruined.
Has he stepped in it a couple times?
No, but in the
Is
past,
it downstairs or is it upstairs?
It's next to the fridge.
Oh, yuck.
Yeah. Like so a couple times in the past, Logan's accidentally stepped in the cat's mess.
Well, there's a towel in the bathroom you could take and just throw over the mess. Sorry. I guess the cat threw up. Go figure. What else is new? But yeah, my story. Hi, Joy. How are you? So my story is, he was sick, and I had made banana bread, and so none of my other kids ate it. My oldest ate some, but I had taken him over a couple. Well, I'd given him a couple loaves when it got finished, but I don't think he got sick at all. And but it was just me and my 12-year-old that had some at that time that night. And I was thinking, well, because I woke up in the morning and my stomach was hurting, like something else, and it was awful. But then my son woke up in the morning, his belly was hurting. And so I was thinking, oh, well, maybe he just got the stomach bug again. But then I was thinking about it because he was sick the next day too. And I'm like, did I give a salmonella poisoning? Because you hear all of these things about eggs being tainted. There was that big thing, and like eggs were not really on the shelf at all. And so I was thinking, well, maybe I gave him salmonella poisoning. So I called the school on Wednesday morning. Says, yeah, my son is still sick. He's still not feeling well, but I don't know. Maybe I thought it was a stomach bug, but maybe I gave him salmonella because I looked up the symptoms for that. Well, um, so he stayed home and he had a fever and he cried a little bit, but not too bad. And later on that night, it was bedtime, and he went, I was thinking, let me do a couple checks. So I started palpitating his stomach, pushing on it a couple times here and there, just to kind of see what his reaction was. And he didn't flinch too much, he didn't complain really. And then we're laying there, and he pipes up, Mom, it hurts when I cough. My stomach hurts. And so that cued me, and I'm like, okay, so if your stomach's hurting, when I pressed on your stomach, did it hurt worse when I pushed in or when I let go? And he said, when I let go. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's get your shoes on. I'm going to go get dressed. And because we were already in our pajamas and everything, because it was like 10 o'clock at night. And I got dressed and I'm like, we're going to the hospital. I told my son, my oldest, my 15-year-old that lives here. Well, of course he lives here. He's 15, but he's the oldest out of the four. And then I told my daughter, she's 22. I told her where I was going. I'm like, I think Daniel has appendicitis. I'm taking him to the hospital to see if that's what it is. So we get to the hospital, and I text my husband and says, by the way, I'm taking Daniel to the hospital because my husband's gone. He's currently deployed. But I text him, I'm like, I'm taking Daniel to the hospital. I think he has appendicitis. I'm pretty sure he has appendicitis. And I'll keep you updated on the situation. And where at the time it was 9 hours ahead, but now it's 10 hours ahead. So it was early morning for him, as to where for me it's late at night, like an 11 o'clock at night. And if I actually show what I'm sewing, so you could see, and letting me pull it off the edge. But so I take him to the hospital, to the ER, and we get checked in, and he's like, so what brings you in today? And I'm like, I think he has appendicitis. It's like, oh, okay. And they check him in, and then we wait for maybe half hour or so. And I tell him, I'm like, Daniel, it's okay if you cry. It's okay if you complain and wail out in pain. It's okay. I'm like, if he wailed and complained and cried and didn't be so brave and strong about it all, he probably would have been helped sooner. It would have been more urgent to find out really what was going on. But he's a super brave kid and was super brave and didn't complain um about the pain, He they're asking him like, okay, so if he's saying it's like a 6, it's actually like a 9-10 because he's got a super high pain tolerance, and he's not gonna tell you exactly how bad it hurts because he's super strong. So they do an ultrasound, and they get the ultrasound done, and so they wheel him back to the actual ultrasound room because they had brought out a portable ultrasound machine, and then they wheeled him back to give him an actual ultrasound in the actual room on the big ultrasound with the different tech. They kind of think that they see it, but they really are having a hard time finding his appendix. And he kind of complained a little bit that it was hurting and asked how it finished. And so the actual room that we're in, like have this in for a couple days, you know. And so we he has his blood drawn and they do a blood test, but also in the process they say, okay, well, we're going to have to do a CT scan, like a CT contrast or whatever. I'm like, okay. And so they take him to do the contrast, and they use the IV thing that they put in his arm to do the contrast. And so they come back a little bit later, and they're hooking up antibiotics to him to make sure they fight any infection. And the doctor comes in and says, okay, well, your appendix has burst. Um, that's why we had such a hard time finding it, is because it is already ruptured. Like, okay, well, like, we're gonna get you admitted and get you upstairs, and we can get you registered for that surgery. Well, then they change their mind and want to send us 40 miles away to Primary Children's, which is fine. So, but they want to take him in an ambulance. I tried telling them that I'd be more than willing to drive him up there, but they really wanted to take him in an ambulance. And it's like, all right, well, I guess. So I signed the waiver to have them take him in an ambulance, which I got a statement. It wasn't particularly a bill because the insurance hasn't paid it yet, but they sent me a statement. It was over $3,000 for this ambulance ride to go to another hospital that I could have easily taken him. You know, it wasn't emergent. They made it sound like an emergency. You know, like they were going to get him there and they were going to get him seen right away and get his surgery done. Well, so we get to Primary Children's. They've already got him there because I'm, a little bit behind. And I check in with them and they make sure they have um, antibiotics and make sure that he's not going to have any problems. Yeah, it's crazy. They just highway robbery, I tell you. So I'm hoping the insurance pays for it. But so it's like they left at like 3:00 in the morning, like from the other hospital, and like so they got to the main hospital, to the Primary Children's, and so it's like 4:00 in the morning, at Primary Children's. And we're thinking they're going to get him in. And so I asked, so when are they going to do the surgery? It's like, well, they're going to come in a couple hours and check in with you, and then they'll schedule the surgery. It's like, okay. Hopefully it'll be soon. I'm thinking maybe 6 a.m. or something. They'll get him in there and get it all taken care of. They didn't pull him back there until noon. Noon to do the surgery. It was crazy. So he had the surgery at noon, and luckily the burst appendix was still contained, so it wasn't too bad. It could have been worse, seriously, but it was still contained, and it kind of looks like a little shrimp, the appendix. But yeah, but so basically Thursday morning till Saturday night, we were in the hospital. And then I go to send, I'm thinking, okay, well, he should be doing okay. And he seemed well enough to go back to school. So I sent him back to school on that Monday, like a couple days after he has surgery, and I'm sending him back to school. How awful am I? But he goes back to school, and his teacher's like, Daniel, stay home. Stay home and get feeling better and recover at home. and we'll see you next week. So, because that's what my son told me. He's like, Mom, my teacher wants me to stay home and recover, and he doesn't want to see me this week. He wants me to come back next week. I'm like, all right. So I listen, and I keep him home for that week. So often missing another 4 days of school. So then he goes back to school that next Monday, and he didn't see his best friend. Now his best friend has been sick. Well, had been sick, and she wasn't doing so well. And that Monday, that night, he said, Mom, I didn't see my friend. I didn't see Evie at school. Can you text her mom and see if she's okay? Because I'm worried about her. And I said, well, it's kind of late because it was like already 10 o'clock. You know, my son, he has trouble sleeping. And so he's like, all right, well, maybe she'll be at school tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, hopefully. So the next day, she's not at school. And that Tuesday night, I get a phone call from the school. They had sent out a mass text to everybody, like an email, but I hadn't read the email yet. But I got a call from the principal at school, and they tell me that his best friend had passed away. She was 12 years old. They had been in the same class pretty much since kindergarten. I don't know if she was in his kindergarten class or not, but I think maybe she was because he was really attached to her. He adored her to death. And here I am starting to so emotional. But so the principal calls and it's like, there's kind of been a tragedy. One of the students at school has passed away. And we just wanted to let you know that if Daniel's having issues, he doesn't have to come to school, because it is, it was one of his best friends. And so I break down crying. I am like emotional and thinking how awful. And I'm friends with the mom, and I'm friends with the sister. Also, my kids are best friends. And so I'm feeling, all sorts of emotions. And so my son comes up, we get him upstairs after he used the toilet, and we talk to him. I need to wipe my nose a little bit. My sinuses are all backed up. But so, we break the news to him, and he's like, what did she die of? And we said heart failure. He's like, or a heart defect or whatever. He's like, so basically a heart attack. I'm like, well, kind of, I guess. And so he kind of understood. I don't think he's fully processed it yet. And it's been a couple weeks now. But I don't think he fully realizes that his friend is gone. I'm just cutting off. I accidentally, got stuck some of the excess. Like some of it kind of folded over a little bit as I was stitching it up, which happens. But so I message his mom, the mom of the girl, and say, I just heard. I'm so sorry. Daniel's gonna ask what happened and what she died of because they were really close. They were best friends. And she told me that she had heart failure, and it wasn't something they were expecting. It was undiagnosed. It was like from a heart defect or whatever that she's gone 12 years, and they could have guessed maybe, but it was so because whenever she would take her daughter to the doctors for her checkup, she wouldn't let the doctors get anywhere near her, wanted nothing to do with them. So it was really hard to diagnose a heart defect, um, growing up, if your child isn't going to even let the doctors get close to you. So that kind of is what happened. And look, I already had this other side done. I kind of stitched it up the other day, like a while ago. And then I just patched this side up. But he, so they didn't know that she was sick. Well, not sick, with heart defect and stuff. But they had taken her to the doctor, to the clinic, and then they took her, they noticed that her oxygen rate was a little bit low, and so they took her to the ER, and she ended up like a code blue, like crashing, and like her heart stopped and stuff, and they worked on her for a good 45 minutes. Like they had gotten her back once, and then it crashed again, and they couldn't get her back. Hi, Marty. And so it was one of those things. Not much you could do about it, but the mom's still having a hard time with it, which I understand. I am like also having a hard time because this was his best friend, one that he eventually he would say that he was going to marry her, that that was his best friend, and he wanted to be around her. He really adored her, and and now she's gone. And so I talked to the mom today, and her and her husband are having a really hard time. And I'm like, I'm sure it probably didn't help my message the other day, but I did send it just to try to comfort you, because I had mentioned, because Wednesday I was supposed to pick up her daughter from school if she went. And so I text him like, I can still pick up Cora if you need me to. It's not a problem. And it's like, well, Cora actually didn't go to school. She hasn't been sleeping so well. I'm like, okay. Well, I text her. I'm like, what might be disturbing her sleep is maybe she misses her sister. Because her sister is gone, and her sister was her best friend, what she did everything with, and she's feeling lonely, and her sister's not there anymore because it was just the two of them as kids, and because they only had the two kids. And I said it to kind of be like, try to be understanding, maybe help out a little bit, but I don't know if it did or not. But she appreciated the gesture because I talked to her today. And she said that last night was really hard for them, her and her husband, because they're really struggling with having their 12-year-old daughter gone. They still have their 10-year-old daughter, but, they're... No, actually, I think her daughter just turned 11 because her birthday's in October. And she's really struggling with that. And I gave her a hug. And then she's like, we went to the grocery store. So me, my husband, and the grandpa, which is her dad, and Cora, they all went to the grocery store to get groceries and stuff. and she realized that Cora was missing. She's like, Cora, where are you? Type thing. And then Cora's like, here I am. It's like, oh, good. So glad we didn't lose you. And she kind of said something, yeah. I'm here, you didn't lose me, type thing. How I can imagine how hard that is, because here is her little girl, and she's, having to adjust to not having her sister anymore, and like being the only girl, like only child basically. Um, and the grandma died a couple years back, but it's one of those things, and I just think, I could have been in that same boat, was losing a child, because I had almost not caught my son's appendicitis. You know, it had already burst. It was, you know, um, his he had a temperature, he had a fever, and granted it was contained, so like the toxins and stuff from the appendix hadn't spread anywhere else, so he hadn't become septic at all. But it had ruptured, and if I hadn't followed intuition to take him to the doctor, um, we could have woken up the next day and he could have been gone. So, you know, small blessings. I'm sad for the mom and the dad and the sister and the grandpa, that this little girl is gone, that she passed away, and it affects everybody differently. And, I shouldn't be so emotional about it, because, it's not my child, but I am, because it was my son's best friend. Yeah, I know, Marty. I have a cold, and so I'm all stuffy, and I'm sitting here talking and sniffling. I'm probably going to drive you guys crazy with all my sniffling because of everything. So I'm just going to pause really quick. Just give me a second. Okay, that's better. I got some of that snot out of my system. I guess maybe it helps being emotional, because it helps loosen up the sinuses a little bit, I say. But yeah, I guess there wasn't as much on here that I had to sew up. I'm not quite the way this is coming together, but it is what it is. It's no big deal. He wears them. Yeah, I, and my daughter's best friend is Cora, so um, they don't have a class together, but they are in the same grade, and I feel for him. I do. Like, I can understand the loss of a sibling, because my sister passed away in 2016, so it was like 8 years ago. It was It was in January of 2016 that my sister passed away. And, that was very emotional too. But my sister, she lived till she was 36. Um, she had a brain aneurysm and passed away. She had suffered from migraines. Yeah, Elizabeth's friend is the one that she's friends, that is a sister. But the one that passed away was Daniel's best friend. It was Daniel's friend that he's been friends with since kindergarten. I think Elizabeth, she's my kids aren't as much affected with this because they are on the spectrum, so they have a harder time dealing with emotions than some. And so, they may not take it as harsh as other people, especially the adults, because you know we get attached to these cuties, and we know them, and we've spent time with them and interacted with them. Like, I remember going on a field trip with my son's 5th grade class years ago, and I'd gone on a field trip. We went to the state capitol. My daughter went this year, but um, I remember going, and his friend was there. Evie. She was there at the um on the field trip years ago. But yeah, she was such a sweet soul, and she did have behavioral issues also, like my son. Hers were a little bit different. Like, I think she was still doing pretty good in being able to go to each of her classes. My son, on the other hand, is just in, like, basically goes to 2 different classes. So he goes to his English, like his language arts class, which is right next to his main class that he spends the rest of the day in. But at one point, we tried to make sure that the kids weren't in the same class for the whole day. Like, they'd have maybe 1 or 2 classes together, but being parents and stuff, and just to give Evie some space from Daniel, and so that they could focus. And we tried to make so they weren't all. I don't know. It's not doing anything, but I have no idea because I'm not on my phone. I don't know if we're buffering or not. So let me see. If we are buffering, then I guess I'm done. I have no idea. Oh, well, I'm still here. It was just buffering. That's good. I just turned it on my phone, and it would show me on my phone if I was buffering or not. But, so, well, it says that my chat disconnected, so please wait while we try to reconnect you. And then it says successfully reconnected. So, who knows? But yeah, so she was a sweet soul, and I am sad that she's gone. And it could have been me down that road with my son because of the situation going on. But luckily we had been able to find the birth appendix and take care of it before it caused issues. But, you know, the day this week, the school called me, asked me to go pick him up because he had a headache. Um, and I think just something at school upset him. Somebody went and talked to him, and it upset him. So, exactly, Marty. It does make us realize how fragile life can be. But I think someone going and talking to him at school kind of stressed him out a little bit. Because it was first thing in the morning, like right as school was starting. They're there talking to him, and it probably stressed him out a little bit. And so the teacher had called me asking if I could pick him up because he had a headache and he, knew that it wasn't going to be beneficial to be at school with a headache. And so I went and picked him up. And I asked the teacher, I'm like, I just want to check and make sure that everything's going okay and Daniel's doing okay and, you know, things are okay. And he's like, yeah, everything's fine. And he's like, there's not too much going on this week. So if you want to keep him home, you can keep him home. Or you can send him either way. I'm like, all right, well, I'm sending him to school each day if I can. So I sent him to school Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And Thursday, his teacher kind of told him, it's like, Daniel, you have a cold and, you have the stuffy runny nose. I think it would be best if you just stay home tomorrow. Well, lo and behold, I didn't know that the teacher wasn't going to be there, that the teacher had a substitute. But so I kept Daniel home today because he was sitting on the toilet and he wasn't quite ready to get off when it was time either. And my daughter's here, so if there's any issues, she's here to keep an eye on. But after he got out of the bathroom, he went back to bed. And ate his breakfast in there. And when I got home, I called the school and let them know that he wasn't going to be there. And they're like, okay, not a problem. I told him that he felt under the weather, which he was. And then when I picked the kids up from school, my 15-year-old, he tells me, he's like, Mom, the reason why his teacher told him that he should just stay home is because he wasn't going to be there. They had a substitute today. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. If I had known, I wouldn't have tried to make him go to school, because the teacher, they could always send me a text, email or something, say, hey, I'm not going to be there, and Daniel's been feeling under the weather, so just keep him home. And I would be okay with if they sent me a message like that. But so I kept him home, and then probably about 10 o'clock or so, I don't know for sure what time it was, but I got a phone call from the behavioral health, the therapy office, and they're like, oh, we had a cancellation and we're wondering if you'd like to bring him in today. I'm like, what time? They're like, 1 o'clock. I'm like, that will actually work out perfect. So I was able to take him in for his intake therapy appointment where they ask the questions and kind of see what's going on, because they want to make sure that he's dealing with this grief and some of the anxiety that he has. And, he does have the behavioral issues. So, they want to make sure that he doesn't explode when he gets angry, so that he doesn't have these episodes. And, I want to be able to talk to him and discuss with him and help him find coping skills for all of these issues. And so after that, I went to go pick up I went to the school after the appointment because my daughter had, they had their program about puberty. They teach them in 5th grade. and stuff, which is actually because when my son went through the program, it was years ago, but when he was in 5th grade, they did the puberty lesson for him too, but they did it, later, March or April or whatever, and so it was, later in the school year, but now they're doing it before Thanksgiving break. And so it's like, oh, well, that's interesting. That may have helped with some situations back then. If in the school year 21, 22, it would have helped with some of the situations that was going on that year between my kids and the puberty and stuff. It would have helped explain things. Because in 2020, well, I guess it was 2019, 2020, my 15-year-old, he was in 5th grade. And he had the program also, but we listened to it and watched it online on the phone with like a little link because they didn't have school in at that time because of the pandemic and everything. And so I remember watching that prior to sitting down with him and watching it with him. And so that if he had any questions, he could ask me. Of course he didn't, but he can ask his dad too. But that's what I did with all my kids, is I want to be there for them and I want to make sure that everything's covered. And I'm just blabbering about my day and my life and everything. Yeah, I think in mine it was also 5th grade when it was like, geez, forever ago, But yeah, I think it was 5th grade because we learned about it, and so it kind of gets your mind thinking like, okay, well, when is this going to happen? And that some of your other classmates have already gone through it, and you're like, well, all right. And I was a year ahead. Like, I was a year behind. Well, I was older than most of my classmates. But, being in 5th grade, you don't always remember everything either. So, being able to be there for my daughter. So, I got there a couple minutes late to the school because it started at 2:15 and I got there about 2:20 inside the building. And I got up there and they hadn't quite started yet. They were still getting settled. Yeah, I was also a late bloomer. And I get up there and they say, oh, Elizabeth's right back there. So my daughter was saving a seat for me. Thank goodness. But you would be surprised on how these little girls, these 10, 11-year-olds, they're like, oh, they show like the little trainer bras and stuff and different things, and they're like, ew, and they cover their eyes and they kind of giggle and laugh and stuff. And so they just gone through part of the video, and these girls were kind of going ew and kind of grossed out because they don't show in detail, but they, on the men and women, they show like them getting the pubic hair and the other stuff, and these kids just sitting right in front of us are just being really disruptive. And my daughter pipes up, she's like, will you please quiet down? I'm having a hard time hearing and I'm trying to listen to this. And I'm like, oh, good for her. I'm so proud of my daughter. She really wanted to listen. She wanted to be a part of it because she I've talked to her about it, and a couple days ago, um, we were talking, and I had picked up um some tampons and stuff. Yeah, it can embarrass them, and I know when I was growing up, I was embarrassed. You know, it's still kind of embarrassing sometimes. But I think a lot of it has to deal with the way that, like, your religion and the way that you're raised, the embarrassment. And so I'm trying to raise my kids that they're not afraid to talk to me. They're not afraid to come to me. And I try to be open with them on most things because I want them to be able to come and talk to me. And I know when I was growing up, you know, you didn't talk about this stuff. You didn't, discuss it so much. And and if something happened, you were told to be quiet and not tell anybody or whatnot. And so it was like it made growing up hard. But I'm trying to do better by my kids. But we were talking, and discussion came up because I bought some new tampons for my daughter. And she was like, she pulls Elizabeth in there. She's like, well, exactly, Marty, exactly. And so she's like, Elizabeth, it may not start for a while, but eventually you are going to end up getting your period. And, these are where we keep them. This is where we keep all the um, feminine products, like the tampons and the pads and the panty liners and stuff. We keep them in the cupboard. And so, you know, if she ever needs it, she'll know where they are. And but we discussed that with her, so she's not like, I even got her a book a couple years back, um about girls and their growing body, and going through puberty, and it also goes, it talks a little bit about boys and stuff, but it talks about periods and puberty and all this stuff. And so that if she has any questions and she's not quite comfortable talking to me, she can look in her book and read about it, and then maybe she'll be a little more comfortable talking to me, or she can talk to her sister or to my sister, her aunt. And it just leaves those channels open if she's questions anything. But yeah, so, oh, that's good. That's good. Like, we showed Elizabeth, like, what the pad looked like. We haven't really shown her how to insert it in some underwear or whatnot. That'll come. Don't think she's really gonna have a period for at least another 2 years. Because they say that usually after they start to get the hair and like the underarm hair and the pubic hair, and um, start to have a little breast buds and stuff, that probably about 2 years, give or take, um, they would usually start their period once puberty has started. So that kind of makes sense because, mine did come a little bit later. But so I'm not too worried about it. Um, but if she has any questions, she knows she can ask her sister, or she can ask me. She can even ask her when her dad's home, because he'll be home in like March. But yeah, we try to be open with our kids, and we try to talk to them about things, and And if there's something bothering them or if they need to talk about something, we'd be there for them. Because, well, and I know she's gone through a growth spurt. I tell you, Marty, this girl, so, the pair of pants I made a couple years ago, it was back in like 21, of course, because it was when my son was in 5th grade, when Daniel was in 5th grade. Let's see, was that 21? Yeah, 21, 22. No. Yeah, because 2021, he was, Ethan was in 6th. No, Ethan would have been in 7th. So they're two, no, Ethan would have been in 6th, because 2020, like 2019, 2020, Ethan was in 5th. And so 21, 22, yeah, because 20 and 21, Ethan was in 6th. So Daniel was in 4th. And then 21, 22, Daniel was in 5th. And I remember making him school pants. And I know I, like, showed him on my channel. But, so Elizabeth is wearing those pants now. But they're already starting to be high waters on her. And so, like, Elizabeth, I think you're a little bit taller than what Daniel was when he was in 5th grade. Because these are already high waters on you, and they weren't quite high waters on Daniel when he was in 5th grade. You know, they become more and more high waters when he hit 6th grade. And yeah, they were high waters, and so much that they went to like mid-calf because he had a huge growth spurt. Until this year, he's in 7th grade. But yeah, he just shot up. It's crazy. But Elizabeth, you know, she's grown a couple inches, I swear. Because she's, you know, they're high waters on her. Thank goodness my kids are going to be taller than me. I'm so glad. But yeah, so I have this all stitched so I can give it to my son. I know he has a couple more pairs he's going to want me to stitch up. So I can come back on sometime. You know, it's not perfectly stitched. You know, there's a lot of crinkles and stuff. You know, if I was to redo it, I could easily adjust it and stuff. But I think it'll be okay because it's right there at the knee. I think I'll be okay with that. But, you know, and I could easily stitch him up some brand new pairs. You know, take the elastic out. Like I even had to stitch along the waistband here, along these little areas, because it's starting to wear out. So, but all of his parents are wearing out. And I could easily make him some more. The problem is, it's not as easy to get to the fabric as it is to know where the fabric is. Because I know exactly where the fabric is. You know, I can picture it in my mind, knowing exactly where it's at. The problem is getting to it because I have stuff stacked on. Yes, it's way at the bottom and the back. So it's like stacked, like back by the wall, with stuff on top of it, stuff in front of it, like a whole bunch of stuff in front of it. And so I would have to basically climb on stuff because that's the way I do things because I'm a hoarder. Especially back there in my fabric storage because I just don't know when to stop. Which I was mentioning I did buy fabric on Wednesday. But, you know, I could go back there and get the fabric because it's on this big like this industrial rolls of fabric. And, you know, I got it from the thrift store. I don't know if that one was like $25 or it was one of the $10 ones that I got from DI. But, you know, sometimes I'd find really good deals and so I would get it. And so I have this fabric And I have lots and lots of this fabric. And like a pair of pants, like, so this pair I fixed, but this pair, so I cut out the pocket piece to use as a patch. But see, he is rough. Look at that. I noticed it the other day, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think you should wear those ones. Yeah, I really need to, Marty. I really need to make him brand new pants because, you know, all of his pants have holes in the knees, like all of them, and these are like his favorite kinds to wear. Yeah, he has other pants, but is he gonna wear them? No. Like, this was one that was actually like halfway decent, actually, because it didn't have like a huge hole in one of the knees. It has a hole in this other knee, which isn't that bad. But really, what was bad is that the side is wearing out. I'm like, good thing he wears underwear. Man, everyone would see his butt. But, it's wearing out. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to take the elastic out when I go to make him a new pair. But yeah, it's just all, it's just wearing out. He's tough on these things. And I don't think I'll put the back pockets on the new pair because he doesn't even use the back pocket. So I don't think that's going to be necessary. But it's with one of my overall patterns. So actually, the pattern that I use to make these overalls. So I had made him up. I made him a pair of overalls at one point, and he's like, Mom, just make me a pair of pants without the bib. And so with this pattern, I also just take the piece of fabric, so wide and long, and hook it up to hit the bottom, like to the top of the pants, and stitch that on. So instead of adding the bib on the top, we're just adding a waistband, which is pretty easy. But yeah, so I just need to get it done. And I haven't sewn a whole lot lately because of everything going on and just life and just stress. And sometimes I get a little bit depressed, and it's sometimes I sit here and I watch my phone or think about things, and I'm like, I should really be doing something. Like, you can see I have a blanket wrapped around me, but that's because it's a little bit chilly down here because I'm in the basement, and it's always chillier in the basement. But just dealing with life and trying to keep things going. So yeah, but I guess I have blabbed on long enough. I've been done with this for like 20-30 minutes, and here I am. It's been an hour. So thank you all so much for stopping by. I appreciate. I can text him anytime. He did text back today and asked how things were going. And the other day I did talk to him on the phone. But our times are so different. So right now, where he's at in the clock, it's now 6:55 a.m. So he's starting out his day, and our day's about to end. So, our schedules vary. So sometimes he will call me, depending on what it is. He'll be gone until March. So he's been gone since June. And he'll be gone till March. Because he is overseas. He is deployed. Other than that, we're just making do with what we can, As long as he keeps making the money, we're good, because then I'm covered to go get clothing if need be for the kids, which usually we don't have to get a whole lot of clothing. And get food, like groceries and, just different stuff. And that helps, for my son's birthday. Granted, it was a couple months, like his birthday was on the 11th, because he's my Veterans Day baby. He's 15 now. But we got him a computer for his birthday. But we got it for him a couple months early, because his other one, is actually the one that I'm using. So I actually set up the table's a mess, but I actually have the computer right there, along with my mess. But we were able to get the computer working well enough, and I decided I was going to use it for my stuff, for like recording videos and stuff, because my laptop, it doesn't really work to record videos anymore. And it's got issues. Seriously, it's got some, you know, and it's like, here, that's what happens. So, but we did get my son a new computer for his birthday, and so he's using that. And I took the other one that we got fixed, and I took a monitor out of the garage, and I had a keyboard and mouse that I got in from the store. And so I've just been working out great. I don't turn it on all the time, but it's working well enough for this, for my stream, so it's all good. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for listening to me blab. It's been, an emotional couple months, last month and this month and everything. I'm just trying to deal with everything that life has to throw at us, and then you think, well, what more can I go through? What more are you going to throw at me? So, it's like, geez, what else? What else? But we're dealing with it. We're getting through. And you guys have a wonderful day. And maybe I won't take so long to come on again. We'll see. Maybe when I go to patch up his next pair. Because he is going to want that patched up. But I do need to make it back and get the fabric out. Like cut a couple yards off of the roll. And see if I can make him a couple more pairs. All right. Well, have a wonderful day. Stay creative. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye now.